the flotilla, which you all read about. That's multiply criminal. For one thing, attacking ships in international waters is, of course, a crime. It's a violation of every principle of maritime law. Killing people when you do it is even a worse crime. Here, it's accepted. So if you look at the commentary here, say the New York Times, it's run a couple of op-eds on it. Almost every one is from an Israeli government official or some sympathizer. I mean, I happened to be listening to NPR, the liberal voice, a couple of days ago. I torture myself with that every once in a while. So they have two commentators from what's called the left and the right who comment on the week's events, David Brooks and E.J. DeYoung. And I happened to catch that segment. They were asked what they thought about the attack on the flotilla, and they were kind of competing with one another to see who could be more vociferous in supporting it. I mean, that's the realm of discussion in the United States. I should say I think the U.S. is off the international spectrum on this. I haven't seen anything like that in any other country. But here it's almost uniform support for it, in articulate opinion at least, which is not surprising because the U.S. is doing it. So, of course, there's total support in the articulate classes. Furthermore, it's worth bearing in mind that Israel has been doing this for about 30 years. For decades, they've been attacking ships in international waters from Cyprus to Lebanon and capturing them, killing people, kidnapping them. Often they've kidnapped people and put them into secret Israeli prisons. They have a big kind of gulag of their own, and holding them as hostages, openly, keeping them as hostages. And of course the U.S. pats them on the back so they can keep doing it. Well, this is another case. This one happened to elicit some international attention. Now, Israel's justification for it is that they have to protect themselves from rocket fire from Gaza. Well, putting aside any question about do you have to kill people and stop ships at sea to block that, the whole thing is a total farce. I mean, you can't discuss this in the United States, but the facts are very clear. Israel knows precisely how to stop rockets. Precisely. The U.S. knows too. They can accept Hamas's offer to reinstitute a truce. There was a truce instituted in June 2008. Israel agreed to a truce. They said they'd open the borders, and they partially did, but not completely. And in return, Hamas said that it would stop all rocket firing, and it did. You can read that on the Israeli government webpage. Mark Regev, the Israeli government spokesman, who's on television all the time giving apologetics, he said publicly, of course, on British television where he was asked, he said he agreed, all rocket firing had stopped. So you want to stop rocket firing? Agree to the truce. Well, that went on, it was June 2008, went on until November of 2008. In November, Israel invaded the Gaza Strip, killed half a dozen Hamas activists, then rocket fire started, both directions. Everyone who was killed was Palestinian, of course. Hamas offered to reinstitute the truce. The Israeli cabinet considered the offer. We know this from Israeli sources. They considered the offer and rejected it because they wanted to use violence. And then comes Operation Cast Lead to invade Gaza on the pretext that they have to stop the rocket firing. Now, there's a lot of debate about was the attack on Gaza disproportionate and so on. It's all beside the point. You cannot use force in self-defense unless you've exhausted peaceful means. And in this case, they refuse even to try peaceful means. Presumably because the U.S. and Israel has every reason to believe they'd work, and then you wouldn't be able to use force. But all the discussion about this is kind of like off the wall. It's in some other universe. And that's approximately 100%. And it's about the same in Europe, I'm sorry to say, which tails along behind the United States on this. And the same is true about the flotilla. there is no justification whatsoever on grounds of self-defense, since they have peaceful means to defend themselves, except the ceasefire. Okay, so the whole thing is completely without any justification.
We live in a mentally challenged world because of the media that you've so well described.